Hi, my name is Keith Cooper, Northlight Images, and in this video I'm going to address a question someone asked me recently. It was about buying a used or second-hand printer. Was it a good idea buying a second-hand printer? Well, first thing is, buying second-hand printers is like buying second-hand cars. There are good ones, there are not so good ones, but I'll come back to the sort of the riskier end of the market later on in this. But first of all, if you're buying a printer, if you're after a printer, know what you want. Now, I've reviewed printers for at least 15 years, so I've got lots of older printer reviews as well on the Northlight Images website. The videos I only started doing actually at the behest of Canon when the Pro 300 came out. So I haven't got videos older than that, but I have got all the detailed reviews going back quite some distance. So what size printer do you want? Well, that's A3 Plus. This is done on a die-based printer, Epson ET18100, I looked at recently. Relatively new printer. So unlikely, I would say, to get second-hand. However, and this is one of the safest, if not necessarily the cheapest ways of getting a printer, you can get refurbished ones from the manufacturers. Now, refurbished printers cover the idea of refurbished means it's a printer which is not new, it's been checked out by the manufacturer, we get a warranty with it, you will get it cheaper. Now, typically these are often printers which are returned. These can be printers which had minor faults in them which have been fixed and now they're fine. In some ways, a refurb one is you're more likely to get a faulty brand new printer. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Then you would get one that's refurbed. And obviously, if you get a faulty refurb one, you get another one straight away for it. So there's not an issue there. But for refurbished printers, it's a good idea because the manufacturers will test them to their specs. And it's probably the safest way of saving a bit of money if you can find them. And that's always the problem, if you can find the printers available. Now, I said paper sizes. That is 13-inch by 19-inch or A3 Plus, so it's a 13-inch printer. Typically, people ask me this question when they want bigger printers. They don't say, I want a new small printer for my office, shall I get a cheap used one? So, well, maybe if they're really short of money, but typically it's for larger printers. Now, this particular paper here, this is printed off roll paper, as is this image here, and this is done on a 17-inch printer, so it should be something like the Canon Pro 1000, although that doesn't have roll, so you could cut paper from rolls, or you can print on A2 sheets. So that's 17-inch printer, 17-inch. The one at the back here was done on a 24-inch printer, so that's an Epson P7500, various other model numbers like that. Or you can go for bigger printers still. The bigger the printer you're going for, the more expensive the printers, and the more I'm going to say you have to be careful about what you get. But I'll come back to some of the issues, including transport and other things, and inks and other stuff like that in a bit. But another source of useful printers is ex-demo machines from dealers. Now, these will probably have been used quite a bit, but maybe not as heavily as a printer you get second-hand, let's say from a print company. So if a company is actually making prints, they need to maximize the usage of that printer. They need to use it every day, they need to use it a lot, they need to get a lot of prints to get the money back for it. The dealer, the printer will have been carted around maybe to shows or something like that, but may not have actually had that much use. Also, the dealer may well do service operations, so it's in the dealer's interest not to sell you a duff printer. So, that's a useful place to look because it's sort of, as it were, one step down from refurbished direct from the manufacturers. So I've seen printers like this, and they're quite often large format printers which are available. They're not current models, or they're models towards the end of their life, about to be replaced. But these printers last a lot. So check out that. That's a good one. But when you get any printer, it should be possible to run test prints, even on something like the Epson 18100 ink tank printer, which I use for printing this and quite a few other prints, test prints. Great for colour prints, by the way, less so for black and white or art papers, but glossy colour prints, great. the printer will tell you how many prints it's done. That's worthwhile knowing. It's much, consider it like the odometer on a car. Unlike odometers on cars, there is much less anti-tamper features in the information kept in a printer. And if you've got the right software, you can reset a lot of counters and things in printers. So, by all means, have a look at the usage that's listed. Does it match up to the sort of usage that that whoever's selling it suggests it's had? Much like a car, so if the car has a suspiciously low mileage, then there better be a very good reason why that car has got a suspiciously low mileage. Because much like cars with printers, over longer, heavier use, parts wear out. Now, there are replaceable parts. Some of these parts need to be replaced by a service engineer, and that ain't cheap. So much, again, I keep coming back to it really is like buying a used car. And over the years, I've bought in fact, I've never ever bought a new car. So it's been a few years since I last got a car, but it's something you just take care with. Take someone along with you who knows. Find someone who knows about printers if you're going to just get, to see somebody and buy a printer off them. And thing to know, why are they selling the printer? We're now into sort of private individuals selling it, small companies selling printers. There may be perfectly good reasons, but beware of something like, say, I've got an Epson P5000 here. Let's say I went to, somebody at a business said, oh, we've got an Epson P5000 to sell. Watch out for the warning signs like, why are you getting rid of it? Oh, well, we just hardly ever use it. There's one thing, printers like this, and the bigger printers I used for these prints up here, if there's one thing they really do not like, it is lack of use. The larger format printers, Canon printers, Epson printers, HP printers, all the bigger printers like that, they do not like lack of use. So if somebody says we're getting rid of it because we've not used it for the last 2 years, you think, oh, I've got a bargain here, nearly new, not been used. You've got a bargain, but look at the repair prices potentially for such things. It can cost an awful lot to get parts of the ink system changed. Yeah, on older printers, there's quite a bit you can do yourself. But then again, on older cars, there's quite a lot you can do yourself if you really want to. I've changed an engine in a car, and that was quite a few years ago. That was back when cars had far less electronics in them, and it was a matter of connecting up a few bits and pieces, and away you went. No way would I fancy changing an engine in a modern car. I don't have the equipment for it. I don't have the the software, the equipment that you need to check everything, set everything up. Printers aren't quite at that standard, but large format printers, beware bargains that have sat unused for a while. I get a steady stream of people saying, oh, Keith, I've got myself a printer. They've not used it. I think it's maybe a bit dried up. How can I clean it? Well, there are various sites I would suggest for looking at, which will get you information on how to do it. But if you're not comfortable with tinkering with stuff like that, and you're just hoping to just buy some new ink and top up the inks in it, well, you may be asking for trouble. Now, that's not to say there are not some bargains out there, but if I was to find a car that had sat in a garage for 3 years unused, I know all kinds of problems and things. The fluids need changing, all kinds of stuff might need changing for it. Likewise with printers. Just because you find a classic car in a barn doesn't mean you can just pop some petrol in it, charge the battery up and drive away. Doesn't work like that with printers either. So be very, very careful in the money you're spending. You can easily end up spending a lot more money. The last, I used to have a Canon IPF 8300 here, 44-inch printer, not obviously in this office, but in another part of the house. I used to have a 44-inch printer, and eventually when I got rid of it, I had to give it away. I gave it away for nothing. Now, it had a head problem on it. That could be, the head's replaceable on those. Why was it so much trouble? Well, certainly with Canon printers, you have to virtually empty them of ink to transport them. That ink goes into maintenance cartridges. It needed 2.5, 3 maintenance cartridges to drain all the ink out of it to be able to shift it. Be very careful too, if you find a bargain printer, where are you going to put it if it's a large printer? Here it was straight in through the front door, up the stairs, straight through to the end of the house, the room at the end of the house. It was a straight through path. To get a printer into this office, apart from the fact there's not really enough room for a very large printer, you would have to bend get it round the corner. When I had an Epson P7578, we had to tip it on its end to get it through to where I did all the filming downstairs in the kitchen. That's the one that printed these big prints here. Now, we were able to do that with the Epson printer. As long as you stand it the right way on its end, it's okay, and we could get it through the door. That was doable. For a Canon printer, no, you have to drain the inks. Even for something like a Canon Pro 1000, which has been around enough now. It's been around for 7-8 years, so you're likely to find used ones available. If you move that printer, do not tilt it more than about 30 degrees, because it's possible for the ink to siphon through and drain out, either onto the back seat of your car or wherever you've put it. Canon printers have very specific transport requirements. So do Epson ones, but they're little less specific than most of the larger Canon ones I've looked at. So be very careful. How are you going to get it? Can you get it in? Beware the gift horse. I said the worst one I found is people who've just, somebody said, yeah, we've got this big printer, we've not used it for a couple of years. They get it in, and they then end up having to do loads of work to get it working. Because the other thing is, printers, if they've been, this is a different version of a printer sitting in a commercial location, the printer may have had a lot of use for a few years, and then it needed servicing or something, and somebody said, well, we don't really need it, so it sat around. So this bargain printer you've got may have something not necessarily wrong with it, but there may be parts of it which are near the end of their service life. So be careful with older kit like that. I mean, if you get it for an absolute bargain and you don't mind the risk, then by all means go for it. But if you're just looking for a cheap printer, be very wary with cheap printers. They clog, they do all kinds of things if you're not careful. So to recap on that, best way of doing it is always, if you can find a refurbished one, an ex-demo one from somewhere that you can trust. You go down the list then, because remember, above all, if you're buying a second-hand printer, somebody is selling it for a reason. If you can find the reasons and you're satisfied with the reasons, then by all means have a go, enjoy your new printer. But be very skeptical. If somebody just says, oh, I don't really need it anymore, well, do you believe them? I'm not going to say people will lie about it, but just think about if you've ever sold a second-hand car, the things you might not have pointed out about it that were left as something for the buyer to discover as they drove away, suitably, hopefully after they were beyond the end of the street and could get out and come back to you. So be careful. Second-hand printers can be excellent, but just take care. Anyway, I hope that's been of use. If you've got any questions, please let me know. It was somebody's question that actually gave me the idea for this short video. So say, ask away, contact me directly at Northlight or via the comments here. Thanks for watching again, and please do subscribe to the channel if you like. And if you've got any other questions like this, just let me know. Thanks.